All right. Hey, we're live here, and this is our first book study review for the 2024 Aid to Camp year. And this year, as you guys all know, we're focused this year around employee experience. What does that mean? We want to look at we're going to be looking at our end-to-end employee life cycle. So from the attraction phase all the way through offboarding. What are the things that we're doing to keep our employees engaged and deliver a great experience for them as team members here at ArcFab? So part of what we do in AD Camp is we start the year off by really taking in as much knowledge as we can. And so we started with a Patrick Lencioni book called The Truth About Employee Engagement. It's also on Audible as the 3 Signs of a Miserable Job. So that's the same book. If you're more of an audiobook fan, you can find that on Audible. And the new book title is The Truth About Employee Engagement by Patrick Lencioni. So we're going to walk you through this, kind of talk about our big takeaways, highlights from the book, and hopefully as a result of joining us for this module, you'll want to go read the book on your own and understand it better. So again, we're going to cover the high level concepts here and then relate it back to our business. So without further ado, we're going to start here.
So we want to talk about what truth we learned about this book. And I think that the truth that I learned about this book was about job misery, and what are the contributing factors to that. So later we're going to dig into a little bit deeper into that. But that was the eye-opening truth for myself as far as the book goes. Obviously, you have to read it to learn a little bit more about that. What about you, Aaron? What was your truth?
Yeah, I think to be the biggest truth that I got out of this was realizing like how important measurables are. As a manager, we all know that metrics are very important, but I think that we've learned that it's even more important to have measurables established like by the employee, have their buy-in, have their input on what we're measuring, what goals we're establishing for them. It promotes engagement and really gives them ownership of the process.
Yeah, I think it's really important for the people that we lead to be engaged in choosing their own measurables. That way they can feel fulfilled, as they go through and complete their measurables.
Yeah. So the part that stood out to me the most about this book was the irrelevance component, and just how oftentimes like there's an opportunity for us to create more meaning, create more value in our people's work, and helping them understand how important their work and how relevant their work is to the overall mission for the business, which is on that, that project life cycle, starting with, estimating, going through sales and design and all of operations, concluding in installation, but just like creating relevance across that project life cycle. And the impact that can have in terms of engagement for our employees. So that was a big one for me. And I know anonymity really stood out for Martin, right?
Yeah, I learned throughout, that's the truth about that is like, the more you know about your people, what they like and what they do outside of work, the better they're closer to you and they feel more involved, that you care about them, and you make it a better place for them. They feel special.
Absolutely. So we're going to move on in this presentation, go deeper into these 3 concepts. You've heard us talk about immeasurable or immeasurement, irrelevance, and anonymity. So we're going to kind of take a deeper dive here. So the first topic here is anonymity. So what does anonymity mean? It's people don't want to be anonymous. Like people don't want to feel like they're just a number in our business, and but they want to be known by the people that they work with. And that's not just in a professional sense, it's a personal sense. The whole understanding who the whole human being is, that's the root of employee engagement and how it was presented in this book. So Freddie's got some examples of that, right?
Yeah, I remember back whenever our company was a little bit smaller and we had, less than 100 people, being able to go through our shop or go through each department and, know each person a little bit more on a personal level. But that's hard to do, as our company grows, as, we strive to reach our own goals. it becomes a little bit more difficult to spend time getting to know each individual.
But there's some things we're doing just at scale to kind of help introduce people into the business and really kind of start building that engagement. Betty, you had a point on how we're kind of attacking or trying to reduce anonymity in our business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we do really well here, or as far as our employee engagement, we have a new hire lunch every month. So every month, all the new hires, they go and have lunch with Jeff Cash, which is our CEO and the owner of our company, Jeff Kinney. And this got started because, you know, as we grow, it's hard to remember people's faces and name. And Jeff Kinney would be walking around the shop and he's like, who is that person? Does that person even belong here? And so he wanted to see that or to meet them and know who was being part of the team. So I think it's a really good, cool thing that we do. As far as, you know, employee engagement, the new hire lunch is a big hit and everybody seems to enjoy it. But we also do other things like recognizing new hires, and Aaron can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So one thing I think we do really well to establish who new employees are when they come in to join the team, you know, is the new hire post in Salesforce that the HR team leads up. Kind of gives you a quick overview of the person, kind of their hometown, what their favorite food is, their favorite movie, but kind of gives you a little insight on who that person is outside of these four walls, you know, and kind of makes us be able to relate to people more often. You'll see very often those posts, someone's favorite food is tacos, and someone else comments on it and says, like, man, I love tacos, let's get lunch together. Like, it really helps engage and bring that new person on board. Like Martin, how was your new hire experience?
I thought it was real great. I like the fact that, you know, when I came in, I got with Betty after we went through all the insurance, all the benefits. She walked me around through everybody's apartment and introduced me to everybody, and I thought that was made me feel welcome.
Absolutely. And so there's a ton of examples in the books that kind of reinforce this concept of anonymity and how important it is for us as leaders to really create a welcoming and open environment for people to get to know each other. And so that's anonymity. The next concept in this book was around irrelevance. And so irrelevance really talks about how we can create meaning and value in people's work, helping them understand, like, who does their work really benefit? Whose life does it make better or make easier? And if we can connect people's the work that they're doing to make a personal connection to other people in our business, maybe it's the department that comes after them that's going to see their work after they're done. Like helping connect, make those personal connections in their work, I think really drives home the point of irrelevance. And again, I mentioned this like being kind of a real standout part of the book to me in terms of how we can really help lead and manage our people more effectively to create that engagement. And so I think, Martin, you really liked an example from the book.
Yeah, I like the example, like, you know, when he's asking about, you know, what does it matter? You know, like Salvador, the dishwasher, he's like, what impact do I have, you know, as a dishwasher? Well, if his dishes are not clean, it impacts the food not, you know, being served right. So it takes its toll.
One of the things that we do as well here in our company is the cross training. So the importance of that is that every person knows how their job affects the next, and it's kind of a tool. You get to know how your job affects the other department, but you also get to know the people as well. So you have that idea of how well you do your job, and if it's not done well, how bad it's that going to affect the next person in the process. So but we also see that in the management side, and I think Aaron can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So from a manager's point of view, kind of like how do you make people's lives better, right? One of the things I like to focus on is recognition, making sure we let the team know when they're doing a good job, right? Make sure they understand how they're needed and how their role is important for the company. You know, making sure they're fulfilled by meeting those goals that they helped set up, right? To create meaning behind those goals. And I'm a big believer that when you come to work and there's a positive environment at work, you're going to carry that positive attitude and positive energy home. This is going to help your home life be better, family, kids, your organization outside of work, all that stuff. But the opposite's true as well, right? If you come to work and there's a negative environment, you're more likely to carry that negative energy home, and that's something we got to prevent.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to touch a little bit on what Betty was speaking about earlier about the process. In the construction department, I think that's a pretty big deal, because everything that is touched before it gets to the construction side of things makes a big difference. You know, we feel it whenever somebody didn't take a little extra care, you know, on designing, or I don't want to call anybody out, but each department makes a big difference, you know, and how the end result, what we get in the end, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, you know, because the work, and it's, you know, we're not calling anybody out, but it's just the reality, the nature of our business is, with it being such a collaborative, you know, project life cycle, being so collaborative from department to department, having handoffs and turnovers throughout that process, like everybody's work, whether it's good or bad, it sets the next person in line up. So, you know, obviously the more that we can reinforce like how people's individual roles and responsibilities fit into the bigger picture of our entire project lifecycle, helping them have clarity around that. And then the most important part is drawing those personal connections. I think that helps reduce the irrelevance in our business. That's something I think we can definitely strive to get better at. And then the final concept here is around measurement. So, you know, measurables have been a part of our business for a very long time. So there are some key points to this that, you know, I think tie into like EOS, and Betty's going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So as far as measuring, obviously we want to be under a common goal. Like we all want to work towards one goal, right? But you want to be part of that. So there's no specific job that's more important than the other one. And we operate through EOS, which EOS basically teaches us that we should all be tied into one number, one common goal. And that's why we have departmental rocks, we have milestones, and we create those. So we definitely want to be part of that. And that's how we operate under our company. And I think it's a really good structure to follow for sure.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that quickly, sorry, Aaron. Yeah, EOS, like Betty said, it teaches us that every individual in our business should be accountable for one number, one measurable. And so I think one of the interesting takeaways from the book was something that Aaron wanted to touch on.
Yeah. One of my key points in this book, there's a part where Brian talked about, it says because people who aren't good at their jobs don't want to be measured, because then they have to be held accountable for something. Great employees love that kind of accountability. They crave it. Poor ones run from it. Right? When I read that, I think of the Vince Lombardi quote that winners keep score. Right? No one plays to not keep score. Right? If you're in it to win, you got to keep the score. And I think it kind of shows how important it is to have meaningful goals for everyone. It gives them a sense of accomplishment when they they meet or exceed those goals. But you got to start somewhere. You got to have something to measure.
Yeah, I think it's really important for your employees to engage in choosing their own goals. The more they're involved, the more fulfilled they're going to be in completing their measurables and their goals. I think oftentimes we try to choose a goal or a measurable for our employees, rather than having them be a part in making that choice. They'll be more fulfilled in the end whenever they obtain those goals.
Yeah. Sorry for you. Yeah, I also think it's very important that they know their job responsibilities, so they can have clarity of their expectations that we expect from them, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was like, man, one of the really big takeaways also from this book for me was just the aha aspect of like having, oftentimes we push these metrics down, kind of like Freddie was talking about. Oftentimes as leaders, managers, we tell our people what we want to measure them against versus enrolling them and like asking them to come up with the metrics themselves. So that's kind of a tie into the book really laid that out well. You know, the story really follows the main character, Brian, who was a CEO for a large fitness equipment manufacturer, and then they sell the business, they retire. He retires for a short period of time and then starts working at this Italian restaurant. And he's trying to roll out, like, kind of work through this like working theory that he has about what really drives employee engagement, and is employee engagement important to the business. And so he kind of lays that out. But that was one of the big aha moments, was him challenging the people on the front line, like, hey, what metric really defines success for you? And I thought that was a really cool takeaway from the book. So yeah, we've got this graphic here that Betty's going to explain to you.
So earlier we talked about job misery, and there's what the book talks about is how to go from being miserable at your job to being fully engaged. And then they touch on the three things that we have talked about in the previous slides, which is the three main focus of anonymity, I can't say that word, irrelevance, and measurement. And so the main character, Brian, of the book, you know, when he's explaining that to his wife, he's like, is this simple? Just following this simple steps will get you an employee that's fully engaged. And her comment was, well, if it's this simple, then why isn't everybody doing it? And so, Aaron, how do you apply this concept, or have you applied this concept into your management style?
Yeah, so I actually I had the one-on-ones with my inventory leads earlier this week, and I just asked them the question, like, what's something we can measure that make you feel like you had a good week? And we got some good answers out of it. And one thing we came up with was, in order to gauge performance, we're gauging how many items stay in a received one location. So the metric that we came up with is that the received one locations for both the fab side and the hardware side have to be empty by Friday. So it's an easy way for these guys to it keeps track of where the inventory is physically located at, right? Make sure it matches the system. But it's something easy for these guys to measure on their own. It's something very easy to report on. And it's kind of like the first little baby step into creating more meaningful measurements.
The way I do anonymity with my guys is like on the weekends. After the weekends, I ask them how their weekend was and what they do, and what's so special about their weekend, what they do different, and try to ask them like every day in the morning, good morning, how you doing? How was your afternoon? To, you know, make them feel like I care about them, you know, which I do.
Yeah, I think just to hit on that for Martin, man, I like one of the most impressive things that I've kind of seen in my career here at ArcFab is seeing like working with Martin to get him and his guys over here to be part of our team, and to see just the loyalty that those guys had and that he had for them. And I think a lot of that has to do with the personal relationships that you built, and the loyalty and respect that comes along with that. And man, I really feel like that like is a great testament to like the power of removing that anonymity, to making people to like getting to know people and understanding who they are, and making them feel like they're like that the company cares about them, that you care about them. I think that's a huge success case for that.
Yeah. I think it takes the whole company to reach the, you know, the full engagement. Not just one person is capable of you know, achieving that full engagement in our employees. A miserable job isn't a bad one. If our, you know, employees are miserable, then they're going to make everybody's lives worse. You know, like everybody around them is going to be like, I don't want to work with that person. They're going to go home. They're going to be miserable at home. So I think it's a group effort.
For sure. Yeah. And you kind of hit on that earlier, is just like the size and scale of the business. Like, you know, 8 years ago, there was only 25 people here. So it was easier to get to know everybody and have a personal connection and relationship. But as we scale up and we're getting to the end of 2031, there's 600 people in our organization. Like, it's just impossible for any one person to have 599 personal relationships with people. So it takes, to Freddie's point, it takes a whole community of us, not just leaders, but everybody in the organization kind of filling that gap on anonymity and really helping us transform, and stay on this path towards full engagement. So we're really excited about the work that we're doing in ADCamp this year. It's very meaningful. A big reason why we decided to focus on employee engagement this year is, last year our focus was on the customer experience. And one of the first things that became apparent to us, the foundation of a great customer experience, is having employees that are really engaged in your business, that believe in your purpose, cause, and passion. In our case, we want to create a place for people to thrive. And if we really want to live up to that, we've got to spend time really focused intentionally on how our employee life cycle is set up and looking for ways to improve that. And so we've got some ideas here just for you guys to reflect on as leaders, managers, as employees in our business. It takes the entire team to review, to remove anonymity, to reduce irrelevance, and to create measurability and accountability across all of our roles. And so really excited about the work that we're doing this year. We've got 3 more book studies coming up after this one, and continuing to just fill our brains with knowledge about employee engagement, employee experience, so that we can deliver improvements and enhancements to that throughout the year. So appreciate you guys tuning in. I also wanted to share, you guys got to experience it a little bit with me, but I wanted to share part of what made this book study fun for me was—
What is this?
Related to—
Well, Nemo, all new explorers must answer a science question.
Okay.
You live in what kind of home? Okay, don't hurt yourself.
I'm not the only one.
No, apparently I'm the only one in ADCamp this year that can say anonymity. So you guys have fun with me and getting these guys to master that vocabulary word. So thank you guys for tuning in. Just like in the past, we're going to have questions in this module. Answer your questions, get credit for the module. And then if you don't mind, give us a 5-star review on this module if you really liked it, if it was informing to you, if it was engaging. We'd love that feedback. All right, with that, we'll wrap up. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.